Hello, I'm Police Commissioner William Dwyer. Welcome to another season of Police Journal. This program will give you an inside look at the Warren Police Department and highlight other issues that impact our community. I always welcome your comments and suggestions. Please feel free to email me at wdwyer@warrenpd.org. Thank you and enjoy the show. Hello, I'm Police Commissioner Bill Dwyer. Welcome to another segment of Police Journal. Today I have two special guests, and they're from Crime Stoppers. Now, you probably don't know a lot about Crime Stoppers. That's why they're on today. First of all, the president of Crime Stoppers, John Broad. John, thank you for being here today. And Mr. Greg Anderson. Greg is the vice chair of Crime Stoppers. And I really want to start the program, John and Greg, as far as acknowledging to the public a little background on both of you. John, first yourself. You've been with Crime Stoppers for how long now?
In 1993, I started an organization called the Alliance for a Safer Greater Detroit, which was a partnership of business, law enforcement, and the community, which was to reduce crime and perception of crime in the Greater Detroit area. And that has morphed into Crime Stoppers of Michigan. So I was a volunteer, I was a businessman, and ended up in 2005 becoming the president of Crime Stoppers of Michigan.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, you've done a great job. You know, us from law enforcement appreciate all of your efforts.
Thank you.
Mr. Greg Anderson, Greg, you and I go way back. You know, if you want to talk about, you know, when you go back with, you know, when you were with the state police, you worked undercover narcotics. I was in charge of the narcotic division in Detroit. I think that's how we first met.
That's correct, Commissioner. I'm not sure we should go back that far, but 1976 roughly, it might have been Brown Shark in there where we were working narcotics, and you were in charge of the Detroit narcotics, and I was working undercover in that capacity. And I continued with the state police, and ultimately I retired and went into Blue Cross. I currently head up an investigation unit that's involved in the investigation of healthcare that's made up primarily of retired or ex-law enforcement officers. I've had the privilege to continue to work with you over the years, whether it's been at Warren or Farmington Hills previously with the Crime Prevention Advisory Board, and then with Crime Stoppers since about 1995, actually, I believe is when I started with there.
Great. So well, it's always great seeing you, Greg. John, first of all, to our viewing audience, basically what is Crime Stoppers and what is the mission of Crime Stoppers?
Crime Stoppers is a nonprofit organization, and the mission of Crime Stoppers is to empower citizens to make their neighborhoods, schools, and businesses safer through the anonymous reporting of crime.
Mm-hmm. And how's that been going as far as tips coming in? I understand that you're getting more tips today than ever before. Is that correct?
The number of tips has doubled in the last 2 years. The number of arrests have tripled. Last year we had 3,200 tips. It's up about 9% so far through May of this year. Mm-hmm. So we're really pleased with the way that citizens have come forward and gotten involved in terms of trying to solve crimes.
Very good. I know how you interact with law enforcement, and maybe you could explain to our audience as far as you're not part of law enforcement, but you work with law enforcement. We interact as far as the sharing of information that perhaps we have a violent crime in Warren. We'll provide you with enough information to get it out there. You'll offer a reward, and we'll talk about the reward system that Greg is the chairman of.
Right. When there's a crime, a significant crime, it can be any crime. It can be a crime that the Warren Police Department has given us, or it can be a crime that any citizen knows about. Mm-hmm. And when they have information about that, they call 1-800-SPEAK-UP.
So that's how they contact Crime Stoppers.
They can contact it either by calling 1-800-SPEAK-UP, or they can go to our website and go to 1-800-SPEAKUP.org and submit an anonymous tip on our website. And the third way is now text tips. So they text CSM, Crime Stoppers of Michigan, at 274-637, which is an easy way to remember it is crimes.
Crimes.
And so when they provide that information, we take that information and we give it to a law enforcement agency that we think is appropriate to go ahead and investigate that crime. So if you have a crime and you inform us about it, we will immediately, as soon as we get that information, we will pass that information on to you. And most important, we'll follow up and see what the status of that tip is. And if the tip results in an arrest, we don't have to wait for a conviction. If it results in an arrest, then there's a reward up to $1,000.
Okay. Now, Greg, you're in charge of what you call the reward.
We call that the reward court. That's correct.
Reward court.
Yeah.
Tell us how that works.
That's where the tips that have resulted in arrests are reviewed. The law enforcement agencies that were involved in the arrest will have their officers come in to discuss what happened with the information they received. And once they explain that information to us, we review it and evaluate the amount of a reward that we can pay out. And then we have the ability to question the police officers at the time to see the value of the information that was provided. The tips, John mentioned over 3,200 tips that we received. Over 300 of those tips involved homicides last year. Not all of them resulted in the arrest, but they were critical in providing information.
Right.
And I think that's one of the biggest things that Crime Stoppers allows, is that the everyday citizen can interact with the judicial system without exposing themselves to risk, but at the same time providing the information that is so valuable in getting these violent criminals off the street.
Very good.
It's really a valuable product.
Now, you can receive anonymous information, obviously, right?
Everything that Crime Stoppers does is about anonymous information. That's our trademark. That's what's more important than anything, is that we guarantee that it's anonymous. Even if someone wants to leave their name or phone number, my staff is ordered to destroy that immediately.
Well, then how does that person get the reward if they're
given a reward, there's a reward, they're directed to go to a branch of a bank, and they simply give the tip number
is that right?
to the
Okay.
management side of the bank, and they're given an envelope. They're not asked their name. They're not asked to sign anything. They're given an envelope with the cash in it, and they leave.
But they're given a
That's
tip
interesting
number.
to know to the public that, helps Crime Stoppers and helps their community at the same time by solving crimes.
Right.
They can completely remain anonymous and still pick up that reward. Go ahead, Greg.
That's correct. We've actually had people that have called to give tips that have resulted in arrests that have never claimed the rewards. It's just wanting to do their part to help their community clean and remove the people from the street that are committing the crimes.
How about if the family wants to increase the reward, do they go to Crime Stoppers and then you would up that reward to whatever amount the family would want their part to be increased?
Yes. And the way that works is if a family, or sometimes it's a police agency, not often, or an employer sometimes, will ask if we can enhance that reward. Our rewards are capped out at $1,000. So sometimes people want to increase it to $5,000. So they give us the additional $4,000 before we're able to advertise the higher tip, because we never want to advertise it unless
Right.
we're able to do it. And the family will sign an agreement that agrees that the funds will stay in a trust account for 1 year. And if at the end of that year there's not been an arrest, then they're given their monies back.
What's been the largest amount that a family has offered?
$220,000.
$220,000.
That was for the Jabalee double homicide where the couple was murdered in their garage. And if you'll recall, she was the lady that in her blood, she wrote something on the garage floor. And so the family, the businesses, everyone came together. And at that time, the reward was $220,000. Now it's been more than a year since that crime happened. And so some of the people who have put their funds into that have withdrawn the money. And at this point, I believe the reward's $50,000.